Welcome to the Sherwood Shakeup. I'm your host, Matt Weinglass, and this is our season finale episode of season 2. Wow, I can't believe we've gone through a whole nother 12 episodes with some awesome guests, amazing conversations, topics that we've covered on this show. If you haven't seen the previous episodes, they're available right now on our YouTube channel. You can go back to the Sherwood Shakeup catalog and watch them all, because we've had some incredible guests come through here, and we've had the pleasure to talk with and speak with and learn about the industry and about different ways we can improve our own careers and build our networks and be successful in this crazy Hollywood town that we find ourselves in. And so, of course, today we thought, what better guest to bring in for our final episodes of an incredible producer friend of ours, Randy Turrow. We'll be getting to him shortly. But first, we just wanted to say, make sure you guys like and subscribe the channel right now, and you get on all of our handles of Sherwood Players all over our social media, so you can engage with us and know when we have new stuff to announce, and you guys can know when we go live again on YouTube, because we will be back for a season 3 of the Shakeup. Plus, we're always adding new content and live event coverage and ways to engage you and invite you to physically be with us in real space as well, not just online, but in real physical space. So first things first, let's check in right now with our managing director, David Madwin. Hey, Dave, how's it going?
How you doing?
Very good. Very good. Man, this has been an incredible season for Sherwood. And I just want to thank you for being part of what we're doing and help engineer this with me and just kind of build our team and our company and our opportunities for people in the community and all around. And it's just been really exciting to see. So thank you.
I definitely feel like Sherwood are ducks right now, Like, it looks like we're like, oh, we put stuff out occasionally. We do a weekly show, and we're like, 8 classes, that's all. And sure, we've got, some things in the pipeline. And it really is, behind the scenes. If you want to know how this works, it's Matt and I working nonstop and working on getting all of our materials together and trying to get other production companies to do what we need them to do when they're acting very unprofessionally, or like not putting our projects where they're supposed to be, or dealing with tech issues, constantly in meetings and calls and trying to make things work. There is no easy way for this. There is no shortcut, we might look calm and collected, but it's a lot of work going into it, and we're finally seeing a ton of payoff.
Yeah,
I think the coolest thing this month, it's Distracted Driving Awareness Month, and we have a firm selling one of our projects, Crash, the animated series. Season 1 is out right now on Genre TV, on Roku. So if you have a Roku device or Roku streamer, you can just add Genre TV very easily. And it's just so exciting to have our work out in the world and things that we've been working on for so many years.
I want to interject. I thank you for bringing up Crash, because this has been a project that's been near and dear to our hearts and the Sherwood community. We've been developing for several years, actually, but there's so many people that have lent their time and their talents to helping elevate this project to the point where it's ready now for public, for people to log on, stream, watch it, and hopefully do something good, because that's the whole point of that project. We're fighting back against distracted driving throughout this month of April. So please, tell your friends, share it. But Crash, superhero who stops people from distracted driving. Season 1 is available right now on Genre TV, and we have season 2 in the works that will be coming very soon this year, not next year. This year we'll have season 2 ready to view as well. So,
and also, after it's released for about a month or 2, we're going to be able to have it on our YouTube. So you can just stream all of it through our YouTube, which is just, like everything else, at Sherwood Players. Just type in Sherwood Players and we're going to come up anywhere. We're going to talk about some of our other projects later. But one thing that brought us together and brought Randy, to us is the guiding principle that you should speak truth to power, and that there's power in the artist. That's your whole thing, Matt. Power in numbers, power to the artist. And whether it's my sketch comedy show talking about sex and relationships, or it's your, feature film / TV show Insecurity that looks like, oh, it's about strip clubs and it's fun. something you and I are always talking about is, how do you speak truth to power? How do you make sure that we are trying to communicate with each other well, treat each other well, and bring something different than just trying to make money, which obviously you have to do, um, or tell a story for the sake of telling, just to say it out loud.
Absolutely. And those are the principles that we have to bring every day, no matter what project we're working on, no matter what the medium we're working in, no matter what genre we're working uh, from. It's the same principles. We have to have that consistency. And then we start talking about teamwork and building a team. And this, again, this is why I'm so happy, David, that like today, this is our season finale. We're going to be taking a little break. We have other stuff coming up. We'll talk about that later. I want to bring you back in on the back end on this, Dave, so we can, kind of have
Yes, definitely stay to the end. We have
yes.
some really exciting project updates. I've got some updates about some stuff that I'm working on. And we have some very exciting stuff. So this is definitely worth staying to the end.
Excellent. Well, thanks for the check-in, David, and I'm just excited about this next part we're going to get to, bringing in our guests. But thanks, David. Awesome, very very cool. This has been an awesome season. So
yeah, thanks so much for having me part of the team. I've been loving doing this, and very excited to see Randy Turrow talk some more. So I will allow you to do the official introduction. But at the end of the day, like, Randy, everyone loves Randy, and he's kind of sick and tired of hearing about it. I think he's a pretty swell guy, but you guys will watch the episode and see. You guys have seen him on here before. All right, take care, and I'll check in with you guys at the end of the episode again.
Awesome. Thank you, David. Very cool. Very cool. And so here we go. I'm excited. I'm actually really extra excited right now because I get to talk to a very amazing, talented person in this town that has been part of Hollywood for several decades, knows a ton of stuff. There's not any way we're going to be able to pack it all into one show, but we're going to do our best to at least, kind of dabble a bit into it and give you guys something you can walk away with, hopefully stuff you can utilize for yourself. So without further ado, welcome back to the show, Randy Turrow. Hey, Randy, how's it going? Oh, you got to take your mute off, Randy. Take your mute off. There you are. How's it going?
How are you, Matt?
I'm very good, Randy. Thanks for taking the time out of your extremely busy week and day to be here with us today. Very appreciated.
Yeah, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for yours and David's friendship.
Excellent. Well, I mean, yeah, friendship's important in this town. I mean, they do say don't work with friends. That's I don't know where exactly that rooted from, but that's a saying. I hope we can, fight against that saying sometimes, and know that if you have trusting relationships, that even in business, trust has to be the essential component, the essential foundation. Would you agree?
Yeah, I don't. Well, there's two parts to that. One is that they say don't work with friends. I think they say don't hire friends that aren't competent. Like money or help them out. You don't want to, because when you're doing work, it has to be professional, and you want everybody to be, competent. Sometimes it's even better to have competence over credentials, and you want that right kind of team around you. Trust is vital because everybody, has to have like a synergy. Otherwise, you diffuse the image or you diffuse the quality of the project you're doing. So how do you get everybody in sync? One of the cores to that is they trust each other. They watch each other. They take care of each other. They're going to cover you.
Right. That's excellent advice. I mean, you say it out loud, and it seems so obvious, but I think people tend to put that aside and not understand how important that is when you make these relationships in this town, when you forge businesses, when you go on, you're literally forming companies, forming LLCs with people, and you're moving forward to like raise money, make content together. I mean, you have to have those principles in place. So yeah, thanks for pointing those out, Randy. Let me ask you this, because I'd love for some of the viewers that are meeting you for the first time here. Can you tell us, how did you originally get into producing? What drew you to this profession in this town?
Yeah. So ideally, well, when we go back, I was working in campaign management, political campaign management, and it was a little corrupt for me. And
Mhm.
like but then you find out every business is corrupt, but you got to look at the positive side. And I looked at working and going into production because I want, like a lot of people want to do, have their different reasons for being involved, whatever. You got to find out what's true to you. What do you want to do? What makes you want to get up and be excited every day? And one of the things is, how can I elevate humanity? How can I elevate the planet? And I was looking, politics has, a way of doing. My father was a school teacher. He had his methodology, but he only did 35 students a semester. And politicians, only get their district or their area, to make things happen. And it's not always that, but I found something unique about movies where you can get to the most people in the shortest period of time with the most eloquent of messages,
Hmm.
and get people to elevate that way, or at least to open up their minds to new concepts and everything. So that's how I kind of like got excited about getting into it. And it was just one of those situations where, like, everybody has their story how they fall into it. And I had mine, and I went up from being a PA to a AD and a production manager, and eventually into producing, and even into supporting producers and looking for the financing for the right kind of stories. So learning how to do the financial management and scaling so people can make their movies, how to package it in such a way that not only will you attract investors, but you'll be able to engage an audience.
Mm. Yeah, no, that's critical, and everybody wants that. As filmmakers, we all want those things, but I think a lot of times people go into it and they don't know exactly the process of how to get there, and they see the goal, they can see the goal line, but they maybe they do the wrong steps along the way. I know we've sat down and talked about this before, but I love when you talk about the 4 proofs. Can we talk about those? Can you like educate our audience about this? The 4 proofs going into the filmmaking process, um, please.
Yeah. So the
It was bullet, fire, full, and yeah.
yeah, we talk about the first one
Okay.
is bulletproofing. Bulletproofing is, you want to start with so you can continue on. You look at it through a big picture. A lot of people, the way they think, oh, I have an idea. And imagination is really important. I'm not taking anything away. Like, a person without imagination is like a tea bag without hot water. You know, because we all have a sovereignty. We all have a beauty to express, and the more people that can express, and you can learn about what they want to express and their ideas and things, the more um, the richer your life is. So we all contribute to that fabric of culture and everything like that. But to have an ongoing, sustaining business, we obviously have to talk about the money, and the money comes from, you start where your investors, you want to protect them, and you want to be financier centric, investor centric. And how do you get there? We call it bulletproofing. And basically, we figure out, we have a methodology that, I've shared with you, and we're finessing it now. But we basically we package the project together. The package consists of, so you have above the line and below the line. The above the line, for definition for people who don't know, is why we make the movie. Why do we make the movie? We make it because we respect the producer. There's a director, obviously the script, and then you have the actors. That's your basically above the line. Below the line is how you make the movie. So above the line is why we're going to make it. Below is how, and that's your various department heads and the teams below the line. You have your photography department. You have your production designers, your makeup, your wardrobe, even the trucking department, the Teamsters are critical, so you can
Right.
move around in an efficient way. Everybody counts. Everybody, by the way, whether you're above the line or below the line, is critical to making the movie. When you're on a boat, you can't sink one end of the boat without sinking the entire boat. So, someone may say, well, what are you doing there? Well, it's my part of the boat. I can drill if I want. I go, yeah, but you're going to sink the rest of the boat. On the opposite side of that, if we all work together, when a tide comes in, it'll lift all of us at the same time.
Hmm.
So what we found is, like, if we put together a package, an appropriate package, there are people that can look at a package and they can tell you what the value is. The big place to go, and we've flipped it around a little bit, but there's a foreign market you can go into, and there are people in the foreign market still to this day that will license at a certain percentage. What people do, typical way they do it, they go and try to get pre-sales. When you go for pre-sales, then those get discounted a lot. So we've developed a way where we can just work with the bids. So for example, $100,000 would be offered to you from France, and just to get a bid. But if you want a pre-sale, it'll only be worth $20,000 because they have to block their funds, and you're using that to go bank it, and so they have to prove they have the money there and everything.
Mhm.
So it reduces the value. If you do that 100 times, just for mapping purposes, then 100,000 times 100 is, 100 countries would be 10 million. But if you're just doing this where you have to, if you're getting the pre-sales, then it's only like 2 million, maybe 3 million you're going to get out of the foreign market, and you have to be dependent on the domestic market.
Right.
So this way, we're looking at how we can package it in such a way that the foreign market is defined at a higher level, and then we discount it and back in with our budget to fit within that. So before we even start pre-production, the investors know they're going to get their money back plus a certain percentage. We have certain insurance reps that are able to guarantee that, and other things. It gets into more in depth, and it's proprietary, a lot of it, but we're able to do that. The other thing we do is we put everything through a CAMA, Collection Accounts Management Agreement, and with that, they are able to monitor all the platforms that are paying you, all the corridors of revenue. And then when we have someone that checks them, a forensic CPA, and we're able to figure out where the anomaly is. There's certain things I've learned from being like chair of the mentor committee, or learning from the negotiating committee at the Directors Guild, how these systems work. So we're able to with a forensic CPA to check the checkers, which is the CAMA, and then we back that up for further risk mitigations, have attorneys that are international attorneys that send out a preventive letter or preemptive saying, like, you owe this amount of money, or you're out of line here, we need you to pay on this time, and there'll be penalties. So by doing all that, we've really reduced the risk. We've made it investor centric. So that's bulletproofing.
Awesome. And then we go on to the one I really like, personally, just from the visionary point of view. We're talking about Fireproof. Now, this is the director part of the equation, yes?
We call it fireproofing because we want to go director centric. You're exactly right. And what we're saying about that is that now that we know that the investor is protected, we also want to create something that has a definitive perspective, and that's the director. When you can focus on a director who has merit, then you're going to have more of a chance of creating a product that's vertical instead of horizontal. Like a lot of product you watch, whether it's on Netflix or Amazon or something like, and I'm not attacking these, it's just a formula they like to use, but you can't expand much beyond it. Like Hallmark, for example, every movie has the same kind of formula. They even use the same music in different movies. All their shows have the same music. They have the same sets, same kind of actors, same kind of cute meet and greet. Someone's always some kind of cook or something. The very last second, they either kiss or get married.
Right.
Same formula. So the problem with that is there is a market out there for that. Like there's a market for McDonald's, and these are success markets. They're very specific. But if you want to be innovative or you want to break in, they already have their teams that are already doing that. Why are they going to hire someone like yourself? Because they already have someone that knows the formula. So if you want to break in and be somebody to set your own standard, make your own money, make your own kind of vision, then you have to come up with something that's novel. If you come up with something novel, then people want to see it. And now you go from being like a cookie cutter or, just copycat, very horizontal. Now you're becoming vertical because you're developing things no one's seen. So you go from this, and that's what, and then the way the director gets at, the director sits with all the department heads and they all come up, they work together on the vision. They keep refining the film through each department. And then you do it with each actor, like as a single, you go with all the actors, ideally with the director. Then he does the deuce, then the triads and the ensemble. And then you bring everyone together for a full read and you keep refining. So by the time you get to the movie set, you've really thought through the script in many different ways. You're able to come up with something that really works. Like anybody can just go online and get, like if you're making a meal, get a recipe. And the recipe is kind of the screenplay, and then you have to go out and shop. And so if you know about foods and you know about tastes and things like that, you're a cook or a chef, you'll know what kind of foods, the fresher foods or which taste you want to go buy. And that's kind of like the director. He's going shopping, he's getting these shots, and things like that. So you're giving him that opportunity. And obviously he comes home and he cooks it. And that's like the editor, they put it together. And then you present it to the marketplace, with your final, color correction and all that. And that's the plate that you serve,
So I love your food analogy because this is another term that we hear this expression a lot where it says that there's too many cooks in the kitchen, right? And so that we have that happens because that chef that's supposed to be the director, which you talk about, the analogies that chef is the director. The most successful meals are created. The most successful dishes are created with that chef that kind of had the vision behind it, right? And so, but if you put too many people in that kitchen together, that vision's going to get lost. And so I think that's what we see. We see a lot of times in Hollywood films, even these, especially sometimes these multi-million-dollar films. So it's not even about the money; it's about how it's being structured. How many people get to say in this? Oh, I think it should be this. Oh, I think it should be that. So how do you, Randy? How do you, in the experience you've had seeing this, how are you able to protect this director and their vision from all these other factors coming into play that might, get it off track? How are you able to do that so carefully?
Well, you have to find the right crew, to surround the director with, and you want to find people, the department heads who metaphorically can interpret the script with their director's vision. You have to start with, what kind of director you have. Like there's some directors that make their presence felt in every frame of their films, while others operate in the service of the stories or even the stars. Well, I'll just make the star look better. There's different styles, so you got to learn that director's style. And then you also have to take the script and beyond the theme and just what the story or what the genre is, you want to get to what the conceit is. You want to get to what hysteria that it's playing to in society or the zeitgeist, and know that and get everybody in sync with that. And then when you bring in these department heads, you want to know that they can metaphorically interpret that and that they have, they know how to stay on budget. They know how to get the latest equipment to work in an efficient way, and those kind of things are what, when you can get them working in sync together, like we talked about earlier, And the way you get them, you want to create a culture as the producer on the set where people are really, and we go back to what you earlier said, what they want to do. You got to tap in. Is this something they are really excited about doing? And find that way to make it exciting for everyone to get up every morning to come to set. And once they get to set, you want that culture where they feel really comfortable and and feel very safe, obviously physically, but you also want them to feel safe to contribute creatively and push the envelope. And at the end of the day, you want that culture to continue. That they say, this is one of the best days I've ever had. I can't wait to come back tomorrow. And if you get everybody working together from a point, and you spread it out from that, which is the director, and you get them, and they have to be there, and you get rid of words on the script that you don't even want them using them, because the words are, bring down everything. Like, you don't want to ever hear the word blame. You don't blame anybody, you fix it. There's a certain kind of words, and people say, well, words aren't that important. When I hear people use like foul language, or even like the word I just brought up, I said, no, those words are very significant. You can't use them here. And they go, well, and then as an example, I would even say to them, well, you don't believe me about the word. Give me a word then that you're never going to use again. Because, the words have universes to them. They have feelings. They have emotions. What's a word you don't want to ever use again? Tell me right now. You can't ever use it again. They go, well, that's a stupid thing. Because I always like to use words. They go, exactly, because they mean something. They have feelings.
They have value. They mean something. You don't want to lose that. Yeah.
But there are words I don't think you should use on the set, because they have the wrong kind of energy they put out and stuff. So you just get down to just really getting everybody to think, whether it's a word or just, like in a relationship, if someone's married, or there's a couple married and they're talking to each other or something, you see one roll their eyes, you go, oh, they're probably going to get divorced. You don't want rolling their eyes on the set. If they're doing that, that means this movie's not for them. And, you just got to thank them for a good day, goodbye, and get someone to replace them. And just be efficient with it. You got to protect the production.
I like that eye roll analogy you just said, because and you're talking about protecting the production. So the team members that are part of this process, nobody can be rolling their eyes. They have to be part of the same team and be aligned 100%. Okay, so we have a question from one of our directing students, Stella Tanichi. She asks, how do you find comps and bulletproof the budget revenues if you need to innovate at the same time? This is a tough one, I know, for putting together pitch decks and how you get your director's vision out there, but also say, hey, this is something that can work because we've seen it be done before, but it's also new. How do you circle that square that? How does that make sense? How can it be at the same time? That's a kind of a conundrum, isn't it, Randy?
Yeah, but everything in life is a conundrum. Like you can say that because the past has already been here. We're moving to the future. So the first thing you'd want to do with that is to take that, and I agree with them, take a project that has worked before and give them a basis to work on. So there's a frame of reference, and then add another film to it. Say, but this movie meets this movie.
Yeah.
So we've created something new and innovative. Then they say, oh yeah, they're taking two movies that have worked and combining them. That should create a synergy that's even new and fresher.
Maybe we should use the kitchen analogy again, because we're talking about ingredients to an amazing meal you're going to make that no one's tasted before, but the ingredients obviously have been used in other meals, right? So it's about how you put those together. So maybe that's the best way, at least when you're presenting your deck or presenting to investors or presenting to other team members. You're saying, hey, we recognize that these ingredients are strong. We've seen them before, but if you put them together in this way, we've never seen anything like it before.
But we're also talking about like being in touch with what's going on in the world. The obvious thing everyone talked about the last few years is like this pandemic. And the pandemic is like this thing that is a phenomenon that no one's ever experienced. So there's a hysteria for it. So how do you metaphorically interpret that on screen? And you can talk from the reference saying this is going to capture the hysteria that's going on, and that's why this is going to work. A lot of projects work that way. Now, saying that, you use a frame of reference. Music does that. Like when it works really well, they'll have a rock and roll song. You recognize rock and roll when you hear it separate from country, separate from jazz, separate from classical.
Right.
Why is that? What is the different that makes music work a certain way? Because there's a basic principles. There's basic values that you hear, and then how do you assemble those together in a new way, which makes you fresh? Because people, if you're copying other bands that are out there, it's going to be very hard for you to sell records.
Right.
But if you make it your own, you'll be able to. Same thing with the movies. You just want to have something that's fresh, that's a new way of looking at things, and you'll be able to succeed with that.
Excellent. That's absolutely. I love the music analogy. So we have another question from Maddie. How do you know that everyone on your production team will work efficiently and help bring your vision to life? How can you anticipate that, Randy? I mean, there's a lot of risk involved there, right? Because you're not going to know until you know, and then it might be too late.
Well, one of the things that you want to do is get recommendations from friends. Say this person's amazing on the set, so you get personal recommendations. And then if you don't know the person, you're just looking at a cold resume, then call people on the resume, call the production managers, call the ADs, call different people that have worked with them and get references. That's a good way to start, is with references. The best way is personal, report. And the other thing is look at a movie and you say, wow, I really like what this person did with this prop or with this makeup. I'm gonna reach out to them and contact them. And then, then you meet with them and you can ask them, different things, or what do they like about production? What do they hate about production? What makes them uncomfortable? And once you've worked in production, a number of productions, you start to get a rhythm and you know who works as a team.
And these successful teams that we've seen in Hollywood, the Spielberg team or the Cameron team, they tend to work with the same people over and over. I think a lot of people don't understand why. I think you're connecting the dots for them right now. You're showing that it's not because they don't want to work with other people. It's just that they know this equation works. It's a successful equation, so they're gonna reuse it on the next film. Correct?
Yeah, there's advantages to that and disadvantages. The advantage is, as we mentioned earlier, the director has a certain style that people pay to see. Like people pay to see when you say a name like Tarantino, you know what to expect.
Yeah,
you're not going to go in and get a romantic comedy. Like or you're not going to get a spiritual family project or something. That's just not that he couldn't direct it.
Well, he did want to do Star Trek there for a little while, so that was a little offshoot. I don't know what happened with that. I don't think that panned out, but he was up for Star Trek. So
yeah, but I'm just saying, but
right, yeah,
his genre and everything.
Yeah,
or Hitchcock, that.
Yes,
different people have a specific kind of thing that you expect from them, and the problem is that they get locked into that kind of look, and after a while, people, they keep reinventing themselves, and that's terrific. But there are other directors that, because they haven't developed that style, they service the star, they service the story. They're very good at doing that, but they don't have their distinction. So they're more flexible with getting different crew members. But a lot of people, you get a feel for their look when they go outside there and go for another DP. Like the Coen brothers had this one DP they worked with, and everybody liked that Coen brothers film. When they work with a different DP, they said the Coen brothers film.
Yeah,
and they won't tell you that, or they'll say, no, we're trying new things. So sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. But ideally, when you have the other issue is when you're working with people you've worked with before, you can count on them. and you know what their sensibilities is. So there's a shorthand, and you save time. And that's something else we're talking about in this fireproofing.
Yeah.
When you go through the project enough and you start to work with all these people, you start, because you've done your prep appropriately, you're able to say, well, what if I save 6 minutes an hour? What if I could do 12 minutes? What if I go up to 18 minutes? And they usually shoot about 10-hour days. So that would be 180 minutes or 3 hours of savings. And if it's costing you, sometimes it's $100,000 an hour to shoot if you're on $1 million a day film. You know, that's saving you $300,000 on 50 days. You know, it's a huge amount of money. It's like $15 million that you see up on the screen because you're able to be more efficient with your time. You know, and so that's another thing that you want to do so you don't burn cash. And a lot of people just burn cash because they say, oh, I have to cover my back. You know, I have to cover what the director wants is I have to have all this extra stuff, or I have to have extra crew members here, or like that. You really don't need it. I mean, if you do your homework and you really process and analyze things appropriately, you can work very efficiently,
right,
and save a lot of money for everyone.
Right. So, hey, I had a question for you, Randy. What are like some of the more costly mistakes you've seen like producers make behind the scenes, or do you have like a particular story or an incident you want to like just use an example? You don't have to say any names, you don't have to incriminate anyone, but just where you've seen something go completely wrong because they just made the wrong choice that they could have easily avoided. Something like that to tell us?
I've been around like real big time directors where there's an arrogance to them. And again, I'd rather not say names, obviously. Right. You don't want to incriminate. Yeah, that's another thing. You don't want to really ever say anything negative about anybody. You want to, but we're talking about a principle or something that I've witnessed. Yeah. This was one of those $1 million a day productions. Downtown, you have helicopters lining up the police, you have a freeway blocked off, all this stuff. The director shows up and he says, you know, I'm not too sure I want to shoot this today. You know, I was out late last night. You know, he's out on a date. I don't think he was married, so he's out on a date. He says, I was out late last night. I'd rather think this through some more. Why don't we just send everybody home early? And, you know, the comment was, you know, if you send everybody home, we're going to lose $1 million. You know, literally, we'll lose $1 million today. And he goes, yeah, and also the sky doesn't have the right color in it. You know, he's trying to defer it from himself, right?
Right. Justify, yeah.
So that's something that I've seen, you know, where people don't care. They just get so caught up with themselves. They think they can say whatever they want and everybody has to go along with it. You know, so you got to protect against that kind of activity. The other thing is just that people get so rushed. They don't want to take time to get the appropriate bids. Like you want to, every time you have to get any item, you know, when you make a movie, you read the script, you break it down, you take all the items that are supposed to work for that scene and they're put on a breakdown page. And eventually you have to order all that stuff in an efficient way. But sometimes we can take it and we create like a flow chart with, these are all the ROS, the run of show across it. And so you have all the run of show items, which would obviously be the director, the first AD, all of your department heads, their crew. You know, you have a camera every day, all that. And then you have a dividing line. Then you have your daily costs that, you know, like background actors aren't there every day. They're not run a show. A crane, for example. So then you find out these days when the crane comes in, because you have to order it the day before to be there. You don't always want it being delivered on the day. And then it works a whole day. It can't always leave at the end of the day and be returned because people run into overtime. So you have it like 3 days. But what if we put scenes together? We saw, what if we put these two scenes next to each other on the same day? We can get multiple use out of the crane. But that takes time to do that processing and analysis. The other thing is you always want to, if you have cameras that are being ordered, you want to have 3 or 4 or even 5 different backup plans or redundancies built in. Yes, you've developed a relationship with a specific camera brand or grip or electrical house and all that. But at a certain point, these guys don't really care about your production. They just say, well, we'll give it to you for $8,000 a week, but you're only getting really $3,000 to $4,000 worth of equipment a week because you have a relationship with them. They just, they just charge this whatever, because they're used to charging you a certain amount. So you really want to get into the details and break things down. And then in case that person doesn't have the equipment or they can't deliver, or there's some kind of, the director doesn't like something, then you always have a backup plan to go to all the time. That's why you want to have multiple choices of vendors and take your time to do that. And that will protect your production to stay on budget and not just get stuck because, oh yeah, we have this relationship with them and we made a deal, so we have to pay for it.
I like that advice. So we've covered the different centrics, the investor centric, director centric, bulletproof, fireproof. What are the other ones we have to be aware of as we're putting our teams together, Randy? What's the next one?
So then the next thing is you want to ensure that you're going to have audience engagement. Why do you want that? Well, if the audience responds to your movie, then you get what's called word of mouth. And there's certain things that create word of mouth that you need in a movie. The four things you need to create word of mouth is, number one is the screenplay formula, which is in Hollywood, the secret is, I'll use another analogy. Like if you buy real estate, the analogy there, or they say the secret to success in purchasing real estate is location, location, location.
Mm-hmm.
Hollywood, it's genre, genre, genre. And if you have your genre, that's where we get back to where we're using the analysis or the comparative of like rock and roll music and different kinds of music. You can hear what it is. In genre, it's a certain taste. It's like that secret sauce. I don't know if that. I think that's. I don't know if it's McDonald's or Jack.
One of the fast foods has a secret sauce.
Yeah. People go buy a Coca-Cola. They like the sugar or whatever. So they're used to that. You could, like, if you blinded someone and gave them Coca-Cola, say this is Coca-Cola, and you gave them Pepsi, they'd spit it out because it confuses them, right? It's not the same thing. Same thing with seeing a movie. They have a certain taste for genres. So you have to hit all the beats in the genre. So if you're not hitting the beats appropriately, then people are taken out of the movie and they're not going to go tell somebody else, go see this movie because if it makes them feel bad. The second thing is production values, which are, picture and sound. And sound's actually much more important, especially even in a low budget film, because you can have pixelated images and everything like that, and you can tell what you're looking at. Your brain will fill in. But if your sound's off a little bit because it's a direct connection between your ear and your brain, it's off a little bit, you go from an A movie to a B to a C movie right away because the sound's distorted. The third thing is that you need to have chemistry with your actors.
Yes.
And the fourth is the marketing. It has to show you what movie you're seeing, because if you market it one way, it's not that movie, then the audience isn't going to respond either because you tricked them into coming to see it, or they feel you're being deceptive. So those are the four things. Now, when you're on the set or you're in post-production, you've locked your picture in pretty much. You're going to have everybody telling you how to make the movie. Now, as I mentioned earlier, you want to make it director-centric and say, please keep your opinions out. That you can tell the director, but you don't tell the director to change something until he gets his vision out there. The Directors Guild even enforces that the producer can't come in and tell them how to edit or anything. They have to give the director a chance to have his mind and his heart vision into it. Then they can come in and do that. But when you make a movie, everybody's going to have their opinion, because the reason everybody has an opinion is their own interpretation. So the director has an opinion, the producer has an opinion, the actors have an opinion, the writer has an opinion, distributors have an opinion, DP, everybody has their own opinion. The way you work around that opinion, is that you take the movie to what's called a premiere or a preview. And the preview is where if 200 or 300 people comment on something, then you go from an opinion to a fact. And what you do is you edit those facts. And that's what you do. We call foolproofing it. So you don't make a foolish mistake like having a scene out there that no one understands, or it doesn't work, or it doesn't expand culturally or anything. Sometimes you want to put something in there no one's ever seen. They're not going to get it, but it gives them a new way of looking at the world. So you got to interpret. There's certain ways to interpret if you want to keep that or not. But basically, if you have 200 or 300 people saying this isn't working, you edit that. And you go through 2 or 3, usually you don't have to do more than 3 of these previews, and then you get it to test. You can get, depending on how you shot it, if you've done everything else right, you'll be able to test over 90%.
So hold on, just let me interject. So in the pre-production stages, do you ever see examples of a team anticipating that they're going to have this foolproof situation where they don't know what's best for the film, so they shoot, like, let's say they shoot the ending 2 or 3 different ways with the intention they're going to run it by an audience, and if an audience doesn't like it, they already have the other ending ready? Is that something that you've seen, and is that an efficient way to plan your film, to have anticipated that an audience might not like an ending, so let's actually shoot more than one ending and give them that choice? Have you seen that?
That's been done, and it's been famously done too in movies, where sometimes they don't, in your budget, you put in like pickup days or reshoots. You always want a budget for that in case you have that issue. But generally, if you're a good producer and director and writer and all that, you know what the story is. You don't have to have those issues, unless they really want to, how do you say it? The director just says, I have to have it this way no matter what. And when it tests, it doesn't test well, you have to go out and, you have to go reshoot that ending because no one's going to come see the movie.
I'm saying that sounds extremely costly. That sounds like, oh man, these guys, they didn't like it. And like you said, 300 people, their opinion is the ending sucked. That becomes a fact. So I'm just saying, like, knowing that that's a possibility, and you're going to have to spend another however many million getting everyone back out there, getting your cast back out there. I mean, wouldn't it make sense to just shoot a plan B in advance and say, hey, we're going to have this plan B already in the can just in case they don't like the initial ending? I mean, I don't know. I would say that seems at least you'd save some money that way. I don't know.
You're talking logically.
What am I thinking? Yeah.
So when people are emotional, which they are in production, and they're a big-time director, the director even gets what's called final cut. So no one else can cut. He gets whatever he wants. Yeah. You can't even second guess him or anything like that. Yeah. So what I do as a producer is I say, you can have your cut all the way through, but it has to test at a certain level. If it doesn't test, we'll do 3 tests. You get a chance to re-edit it till it doesn't, until we have to take over. Somebody else has to do it. So you kind of get, that way you get a balance of the two. You protect his vision, but you also make sure he's not looking foolish at the end of the day and his picture's making money, or her picture.
Right. Okay, Randy. So we've gone through these first 3 here as far as proofing your film. Tell us about this final one, the Critic proof. Making this, is this Critic centric we're talking about? Tell us about that.
Yeah, so it's actually decentralizing the distribution, and you want to make it fail proof, by making it critic proof. And we're looking at going into the various DMAs, distinct marketing areas, and looking at how do we protect the picture, get the word out on the picture appropriately, so the right audiences is coming to see, and we're getting the right people doing the word of mouth. And that's what that's all about. We have different methodologies to do that. We have people that, where we can go to all the theaters, and the theaters will support that. We have people that we go to in the communities that are influencers, and not your typical influencers, like, people on TikTok that take their shirts off and sing to a song or something like that at pool, whatever they do, but it's more of like an influencer who's a community leader, and you find people that have a big following. And you don't need that many, but as an example, just for mapping purposes, if you go into 100 DMAs, and most small films only do like 10 DMAs or maybe 25, and feature films maybe get to 30 to 50. But let's just say we can go to 100 DMAs. I'm just using that again for mapping. And in each of those DMAs, we find 100 local people. We may just find 10, but I'm just using 100 to give an example. And they each have 100 clients. 100 times 100 times 100 is 1,000,000. And if you're doing a small film and you have 1,000,000 clients like that, or 1,000,000 potential people at $10 a ticket, and then they're telling everybody word of mouth. Like when we have some incentive, we have a way to incentivize them to tell at least 10 people. You're talking 10 million people at $10 a ticket. It's $100 million.
Wow.
So
yeah.
So you don't worry about the critics necessarily come out. But as far as getting the critics on board, there are ways. You get people that know the critics inside out. Like there's this one critic that he gives a better rating if he eats popcorn. So you make sure you have a popcorn machine on the screen.
Wow, Randy, the details. I mean, you are like you're down to literally the popcorn in their hand. That's remarkable precision. Let's just say. So yeah,
there's a reason popcorn is used at movies. Should I tell you that insight about it?
Yeah, because is it the crackling?
Well, what happens is you want to have a willing suspension of disbelief.
Right.
You're watching the movie. The willing suspension of disbelief is that you're believing what's going on the screen is real.
Yeah.
And so the reason you want to make sure all your departments are working, like the framing, we have equal framing in the screen now. If your frame was higher up or mine was lower, it would throw people off. But we're pretty close to our framing in that.
Yeah.
You want to do that when you're cutting back and forth or the lighting. You want everything balanced out so you don't take people out of the movie.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that they found, so that's your willing suspension of disbelief, they found that we have a DNA experience when we go into a movie theater because it's like a cave. And the reason it's a DNA experience, if we go back thousands of years, the Neanderthals would tell stories for many years. They were told, generations would tell stories inside of a cave, and they'd always, when they're telling the stories, they didn't do it in the dark. They had a little campfire, and they'd even use the campfire sometimes to create shadows on the walls while they're telling stories and do all that. So they found that they have different speeds that they can release film at. When film was originally released, they did it 24 frames a second. One of the advantages of 24 frames is that the movement is without jerkiness. It's smooth movement and everything like that. You could do it at different speeds, but the reason they went with 24 frames a second is because it's the same speed that fire flickers at 24 frames. So by seeing that flicking at 24 frames, it gets your brain hypnotized, to have a willing suspension of disbelief.
Yeah.
They said, how can we enhance that? And when the enhancement was to have popcorn in every theater, and every movie theater has popcorn. The reason is when people are chewing popcorn around you, it crackles like a flame and it smells like a campfire. And so this gave them, and then also they put a lot of butter on it, which gives them a rush. Makes you feel good when you have fats in you. And they were just eating fat because they were eating the animals from that day and stuff like that. There's all this stuff that goes into it, and it goes back to this rush that you had.
Wow.
That's why it works much better in a movie theater than even at your on-home screens, which a lot of people have quality screens and quality sound and all that. But the movie theater is that feeling of being around other people and the endorphins that are released when you're around other people. And that's why a movie experience is so much more enhanced than just watching it at home by yourself on a TV.
Wow, that's fascinating, Randy. This has been amazing talking with you today. We've been talking with Randy Turrow, acclaimed Hollywood producer, giving us so much insight and expertise for us today as we talk about building a team in Hollywood. Before I let you go, Randy, I do want to make an announcement to our community if they haven't known. I mean, we've had this entire season. I've had this book up in the back, Confessions of a Union Buster. It's been sitting here as kind of a reminder every day that this is one of our passion projects that has come at least to a milestone recently, where we've now received some development funding, and we're moving into that development stage now for this film. It's based on a true story of a union buster who is confessing what he has done and educating other people, other workers, other communities of how to avoid this type of catastrophe. It's very, to me as a storyteller, as a director, it's a very poignant piece. It's very relevant today in the age of, we just heard of a union coming up in Amazon recently, which is incredible. The first Amazon union was created this week. It's absolutely phenomenal. These are the type of stories where we fight against power. It's power to the people. We really need to want to tell a story. And I want to just say, having that passion behind this and building a team, I'm just happy that, Randy, that you're going to be part of and working with us on this film. And we are looking forward to going through the process together and doing everything right and checking every box. So I wanted to thank you for helping us and being part of this team we're putting together right now.
Thank you, Matt. Looking forward to that. Looking forward with your whole team being that wave, not the surfer.
That's right. That's right. And so this is, well said, Randy. And we're going to be moving over to Clubhouse momentarily. If you guys are watching us live right now, if you're watching on the replay, that's cool too. You can, look back and watch any of the previous episodes as well. Keep in tune with us, because we'll be announcing a season 3 of the Shakeup as well. Randy Turrow, thank you so much for being with us today. And I hope we can catch up with you. We'll be able to catch up with you on Clubhouse in a little bit. I hope you can come on with us. We're going to continue the discussion. Yes?
All right. Send me the link.
I will. We'll do that in just a minute.
Okay.
Thanks, Randy, for joining us. We'll talk to you very soon. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Okay. Bye. Okay, let's bring that was incredible. Wow, that was incredible. Let's bring in our director, managing director, David. How's it going, Dave? Wow, that was
going well.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's funny. You can, even though I've heard Randy say some of those things before, it's always just a master class in how to do production, how to make things work. And Randy is just very casually operating on 6 different levels.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, well, obviously everything production has to line up. Also, all the finances have to line up. Also, the way you're looking at distribution before it happens has to line up. And of course, there's a process for all of this that also ties into how you're going to shoot the film and how you're going to work on it and having artistic vision. Oh, is that it, Randy? Is that all? Is that what's going on?
Yeah, that's all. No big deal. But hey, so Dave, we'll continue the discussion with Randy, and I want to invite our audience to come over to Clubhouse in a moment, so we can engage with you. I want to hear about stories from our community, stories of crazy times they've had on set, stuff they've learned, and they want to do better next time, because we're always looking for the next experience and the next opportunity, and hopefully to tell our stories and tell them in a larger capacity, whether we've started with a short film and we're moving to a feature film, starting with a zero to small budget, moving to a larger budget, how we can keep these principles intact. And no matter what venue we're in, no matter what our budget is, no matter the people, that we apply these principles. So let's continue that discussion in just a moment on Clubhouse. But right now, I just want to say, man, this has been an incredible season for the Sherwood Shakeup. I mean, awesome. We've had some incredible guests come on, some very, very awesome people that we've had a chance to talk with. Right, David?
Yeah, it's been incredible. We've had amazing conversations. I've learned a ton this season. And I think that this season is definitely the most diverse group of characters we've had. We've gotten more into tech. We've gotten into animation. We've really had a broad range of everything that it takes to mesh together and make this work. Something that I'm going to tease quite ahead is thanks to another Sherwoodian and Sherwood team member, Steve Brock. I have an interview coming out with a psychotherapist about the mental state of artists and how depression and mental health play a part in creating art. And if there are enough people who are interested in this, I would love to make it an ongoing special series, kind of a spin-off. And as always, I say too much, and we love to hear your feedback. I would love to hear what you guys want for season 3. Just a couple of the things before we hit Clubhouse. We're in the middle of our director's course right now. The amazing Stella Tanucci commented earlier, and we're going to have in May a showcase that shows how these directors and actors have been working together to bring material to life. Out of this, we've had short films spring before, and just like we were talking about, Matt, there's this entire process from writing and ideas and meeting together and turning projects into different things. And I really want to talk to other people in our community about what they want to see and what they want to make, and how I can bring them into my projects and Sherwood projects and your projects, and put it all under this banner, perhaps this tree, perhaps this group of trees, this forest, perhaps a way to talk to power a Sherwood forest, and make art that, pardon my French, fucking means something.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Well said. And then we have Alameda said, yes, David. So very cool.
Thank you.
They're responding. They're responding. And we want to continue to engage with you after this season. We'll be back for a season 3 soon, later this year, not next year, later this year, because we're going to keep it going. We're just taking a small break.
Yeah, we've got special episodes coming up. We've got a season 3 coming up. We have other feature films in the works.
Yes, we do.
You know,
best thing people can do right now is they can join first go to our website if you haven't yet, sherwoodplayers.com, and you can sign up for our mailing list. That'll be the first thing. If you haven't found us on Facebook yet, and if you find us our production group, our private group, you can ask to join that Sherwood Players Production group, and you can just be in on the know when we have announcements, when we have new happenings in the community. You will be first to know. There it is. Go to it right now. Follow us.
Please like and subscribe. If you're on the video, you can hear this as a podcast on all major streaming platforms. Again, thanks to Steve Brock.
Yes.
Please follow us on social media and comment. And something that we've really been working hard, and our new social media manager Maddie, who you heard a comment from earlier, been trying to work on, is to get more engagement. We love having live classes, but obviously the last 2 years have kind of been a kick in the ass, and not in a good way. So we really want more engagement, and we want to learn what you guys want, what you guys need, and how we can help provide that. So treat each other well, try to listen and learn something new and love. And that usually says
that's it. It's
power by yourself. Power
no.
Corporate bureaucrats. Is that it?
No. Power to the people. Power to the artist. It's Sherwood Players, character driven. Until next time, take care.